Hi Thomas, how you doing? I've got your work up here, and I got to say I'm a little bit confused. Let me tell you what I mean. Um, let's take a look at your paper. Now, the paper last week, you indicated Frutiger, you indicated the modernist period, and then and that's great. That's awesome. Then you went to this really cool, I thought this really cool decision to go into the Pintori Olivetti posters and use that visual to back up the Frutiger quote, typography must be beautiful. That's cool. But let's go to your example now. So here's your piece, and I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing any of the intent because this piece right here it's so blurred, you can't read it, and it's not. It just doesn't possess the qualities of type that Frutiger is talking about here. So I think that and I don't recognize this as an Olivetti poster. I really don't. And I looked and looked, and I think there's just I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm seeing is this: the background is so cluttered, nobody's going to read the text, especially at that size. Um, Even if you increase the type size to the point where it's going to be too big in relationship to the file size, the document size, it's still you got a lot of competition here with all these bright numbers. It's just you're asking the viewer too much by placing type over this background. The I'll show you what background I'm thinking of. Is I was thinking of something like this. Remember these Olivetti pieces? I mean, you could probably even crop part of that, or crop something interesting, leave room for the text, and just have this one. I thought these Olivetti posters were fantastic. They just kind of mimicked the type, the motion of the fingers on the type, but they're also visually gorgeous in a very, speaking of periods, in a very modern way. This is my favorite right here. If you could if you could crop part of that out or somehow, I don't know how you're going to do that. This one's actually got the Z's are a little bit, the letters associated are a little bit overwhelming in that particular case. So I don't know. You think about that, and but I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's not happening. This page is just not happening. It's not visually cohesive. It's very much at odds with itself. Um, the typography is really super tiny, and it's tightly packed, and it's also justified. And Frutiger and the modernists, excuse me, one second. But as what I was saying is, Frutiger and the modernists would not have justified this paragraph. It would have been left aligned right. Also, I'm going to zoom in here, and we want to take a look at the cadence because, again, remember utilitarian design principles behind modernism. Okay, the way that this is set, it doesn't make good cadence as you're reading it. Now remember, there's a natural break behind every line, and that break is caused by the time it takes for the eye to go from the end of one line to the beginning of another. So we can exploit that break by setting the paragraph, the cadence of the words to fall into that break. So in other words, what you're saying is typography must be as beautiful as forests, comma, not like the concrete jungle of the tenements. So you see, I'm overemphasizing it, but wouldn't it make more sense if it were to read like typography must be as beautiful as forests, not like the concrete jungle of tenements? It gives distance between the trees, new line, the room to breathe, new line, and allow for life, or something along those lines. Instead of, read through this and study it and decide where the natural breaks should be and set this paragraph as such. Okay? Typographically, you're really tight kerning. Your leading is really wide and your kerning is really tight. So at a distance, this ends up looking, not even that far, it ends up looking like a series of horizontal stripes. Okay, the name itself, I would set that much smaller down there. So just to separate that and to make sure that it's very much obvious that that's the owner of that quote and not maybe a mistaken typeface for a new paragraph. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so those would be my comments. Sorry I took so long, but I'm really just kind of confused me a little bit when I opened this, especially this lousy quality here of the background. That's one thing that threw me. That's what got me to looking and really thinking about, your initial paper and the what the manifestation of what you're actually conceptually planning. All right. Hope it makes sense. If not, let me know and I'll be glad to clarify. Thanks, man.